So this is where we left off on the class on Wednesday, and we're almost done here with the muscles of the leg, the upper leg and the lower leg. So I'm gonna continue this. It shouldn't take that long. It's we're almost done. We've done the back view and the side view, and so now we're just gonna finish the front view. So this is the last thing I did was I was working on these three muscles that make up largely the front of the leg, and it's the Vastus Lateralis, the Rectus Femoris, and the Vastus Medialis. And the three of them share this common tendon here. They all attach to this tendon that attaches to the top of the kneecap right here. So I'm going to fill those in and fill in whatever we can see from this angle, from the front angle. Some muscle we're already familiar with because we've seen them when we did the back view, but of course now we only see maybe just glimpses of those muscles. And then we move down to the lower leg. So we're almost done here. And you know, as I work on these, I will be making adjustments as I see that I need. You know, I might have to make some wider, some a little bit longer, just so that it looks more correct and more appropriate. But this outline, which I did on last time we met, now I'm going to fill it in. And I had also done these muscles here, the adductors or abductors, and those get covered up by this one in particular here. This is the Vastus Medialis, because it's medialis because towards the inside of the body, towards the middle of the body. And so I'm going to remember this one. It attaches to that ridge on the back of the femur. And so I've outlined it there, and I'm going to fill it in. I'm going to fill it in with I had a little accident here the other day. I stepped on a brand new piece of white chalk, and so I just have a tiny piece of it. So I'm going to give it some white, as I've been doing. This is the Vastus Medialis. It's this one. These are my notes here. So I'm going to fill that in to give it opacity. Right next to it is going to be another muscle, very long belt-like muscle. It has the structure of a belt, the Sartorius. And it's going to use a lot of this space here that I left empty. So that is the Vastus Medialis, and I'm gonna use my Conte pencil to give it that feel of. And see, I think this in my initial drawing I had made it maybe too high, and by looking at my reference drawing over here, it comes a little bit lower. It comes all the way down here. So I've done this for my classes many times for my own purpose, but I mean, there's so much information with these muscles that it's hard to not make no mistakes. Because I have to readjust. So that is, I'm just gonna give it some more white here to cover up this previous outline. And a little bit of a highlight here along this part. And some more of this layering of strokes so that it looks round. I think that looks much better. And it comes, it comes from behind the femur, overlapping the adductors here. But it's going to get covered up by the rectus femoris, which is this one here. And it, like the other two, like I mentioned, it attaches to this common tendon. And it goes up to this spot that I've highlighted. Remember, these are the points for the attachment of muscles on the pelvis. The asses, the anterior superior iliac spine, and the anterior inferior iliac spine. They're projections where muscles attach. So now I'm going to do the same thing here. I might make this a little bit of a different color just so that it stands up more. But this is going to cover up the femur. But now remember, see, this goes behind the femur. I'm not drawing it in here because of the buildup of pastel that I'll get. But I mean, I often debate which ones to do first, Rectus Femoris or Vastus Lateralis. The Vastus Lateralis, very much like the Medialis, it goes behind the femur and attached to that ridge. That's on the back part of the femur, and it also attaches up here. This is the greater trochanter, another bony landmark. And you can feel that very close to your skin there, this big bone. So I'm gonna have outline. I might bring it down a little bit more. Let me see. So I put white. To fill it all in here. And I'm gonna put yellow. That's where it attaches. So put white, and I'll put yellow. Try and make this a warmer red. This is the rectus femoris. And then let me get some orange over here somewhere. And see, it has this, it's tendon down here and it's tendon up here. But it has this very, it divides, we can make this line down the middle. And it, from here, almost, let's say it's the middle distance from the bottom to the top. And then it splits up. It does this. And it does that. Something like shading one side. And the remaining part there in the middle, that is tendon that attaches to the anterior inferior iliac spine. So hopefully this color will make it separate from from the Vastus Medialis. And I'll go back in with some darker colors to separate it. See, there you have it. And for this, so that I can see it better, I want to get the darker Conte pencil here. Might also go back in with a charcoal later. I'm going to bring it just a little bit down. Try and simulate the fibers of the muscle by the stroking that I'm doing. It gives it a nice quality, makes it look like the texture of muscle. Maybe a little bit more white here to make it more fake. So that's the Rectus Femoris. And a little bit of charcoal here to show that this is kind of deeply set in here. And just separate it. And now the one that is left over is the Vastus Lateralis. And this one, if you remember from when we drew the back view, it also goes into that ridge, and as I mentioned a few minutes ago. So now I'm going to follow the same. Put some white, same steps. Some white to fill it in. Let me see what color I made this on the side view. So I made it blue. So this should give it a good amount of contrast here. I'll put blue. And remember, this is going to be covered up by a membrane, a skin-like membrane called the fascia or fascia. See, that stands out against the warmer colors of the other two muscles, but to make it look, it attaches up here to the greater trochanter. I'm going to put some red on it so that it looks more it's more familiar. Yeah, and that the skin-like fascia is going to take us to the next muscle that we're going to see up here. It's a very funny name. It almost sounds like a coffee that you would buy at a coffee shop. So that fascia that's going to cover this muscle is attached to a muscle up here that is called a tensor. So it's the tensor fascia latae, and that membrane is very thin. It just covers up this muscle. That membrane also then becomes part of the membrane that attaches the gluteus maximus from behind. Put that one in. See, those are the main muscles that make up the front of the leg. let me get my note here so I can show you. I can replace the note so that you can see it. You can see the steps. So just give me a minute. I thought I had it right there next to me. So we'll switch to this. My other notes. And so you see here on these notes, the next muscle we're going to do, the tensor of the fascia latae. This, the main form of this muscle attaches up here to the anterior superior. And it overlaps the vastus, the rectus femoris, and the vastus lateralis. And it doesn't quite cover up the greater trochanter, this shape of the femur. So it does something like this here. It's this purple one on this drawing. A little bit wider. So that's the shape it's going to take. I'll fill it in with a blue, and then after that I'll do that membrane, that fascias that goes over the vastus lateralis. So again, a little bit of white for opacity. I'm going to switch to another blue, more chromatic, brighter blue here. Kind of Persian blue here. Especially what happened when I blended with the white, pretty strong pigment. Persian blue. So that is the overall shape of the tensor portion of this muscle. And then I'm going to use a little bit of yellow here to indicate that tensor, the fascia that attached to the tensor. It almost cuts this. See this form right here, I might almost cut it in half. And it comes down. Of course, I'll use some white so you can see it better. It's almost becoming the same color of the brown of the pastel paper. A little bit of white to see it better. You can see this on your legs, towards the rectus femoris, and then also back in the back part towards your hamstrings. But it continues all the way down and attaches. And let me lower this a little bit so you can see this. This is the head of the front portion of the head of the tibia. So from here, I'm going to go up. There's that tendon portion that attaches there. So blend it in here. And it overlaps, of course, the femur. So I'm pretty happy with how this is coming out. Now this gap here, there's a muscle here, the Vastus Internals. So I'm just going to put in a little bit of red, so you know that there's muscle. This is gives the leg a lot of bulk, but we hardly see it. It's underneath these muscles here. The Vastus Internals. And since we're on this part of the leg here, starting to go towards the bottom, let me lower this a little bit more. This is the head of the fibula. And remember, the bicep femoris comes in from the back, and we see a little bit of it right here, attaching right there to the top. And we see this is the long head of the bicep femoris, and then the short head. That's what we see here. So I'm gonna add a little bit of white, some yellow. See this? I'll separate it a little bit so you can see it better. Keep in mind, this is behind the tendon of the tensor fascia latae. I'll give that some color. I'm going to see what color I made it from the side view and the back view. I believe I made it orange. So this top portion here will make it red, or red orange. So there you go. So that is the bicep femoris coming in from behind the leg to the head of the fibula. Now let me pick up the camera a little bit here, and we're gonna do the last muscle that is on the top here. You can see on the you can see over here on my notes, the Sartorius. And like in my notes, it says it starts below the tip of the anterior superior iliac spine, ends or inserts superior part of the medial surface of the shaft of the tibia below the medial condyle. So it comes all the way to the tibia down here. Of course, the tibia is the bigger bone right under the femur. So I'm going to have it orange. So I think the best course of action to draw this is if I draw it with charcoal and then fill it in. So this is the anterior superior, right next to the tensor. See, it creates, there should be some shadow here. It's, like I mentioned, it's almost like a belt. Very long muscle, very thin. And so I'll go in here, I'll fill it in. And see, it comes down. Comes down. I have to give this a little bit more volume to the Vastus Medialis. Goes behind it. And attaches to, let me lower this a bit. Attaches right here. So I'm going to put some yellow. Try to make this as bright orange as I can. As bright yellow orange as I can here. So this is the Sartorius muscle. At this point, it has the same color as the gracilis, this yellow one, but I'm going to try and separate. They're very, very similar in structure. They're like belts. I'm going to go over with some orange. Sartorius. And now I can bring this down, make it a little bit wider. Make the gracilis, pure yellow here. This one's a little bit wider, so I have to make these adjustments. Also, this muscle, this is the deepest one here. That's one I'm gonna do this, outline it, and put some shadow here because it's the deepest one. This is the Adductor Longus, and next is the Adductor Brevis. This is the Pectineus. I was searching for this in my mind a few seconds ago. See? And then the separation of gracilis from the Adductor Longus. And there should be some shading here. It creates like a little cave from where the Rectus Femoris comes out of. So those are the muscles of the upper leg. Let me lift this up a little bit. And then on from this view, we see a little bit of this is the Gluteus Medius. So we just see a little bit of that muscle. Put a little bit of white there. And I believe I also made this pink color. But it's behind the tensor. Let's show the overlap there. Remember this muscle here, the iliopsoas, comes from underneath. This is part of it's like a tendon coming out of the external oblique. Kind of like next to the rectus femoris here. If I have time, I will. I mean, we've drawn the back view, the side view, the front view, but we also need to just understand a little bit of how this all looks from the inside, because there's a lot of very interesting things happening here within with the structure of all these muscles, how they help us in drawing. Again, you know, this anatomy is anatomy for drawing. It's not anatomy for doctors. Okay, so I'm gonna pick this up and finish the the muscles of the last muscles that we're gonna be working with, the muscles of the lower leg. So there we move on to the lower leg. And as you can see, I've already gone in here and kind of given myself an outline. So I know my limits. So we're gonna start from the front muscles of the leg, of the lower leg, and then work our way back. See how that works out for me. One thing I want to do right away is nail down. This is the kneecap, right? So this is also attached by tendon to the head of the tibia. You have the bottom bones here as the tibia, the larger one, and the fibula. And remember, in Spanish, it is called tibia y peroné. So something like this is this connective tendon for the knee. And of course, this gap serves, fatty deposits and cartilage and other things. Nothing is empty. Veins go through there, nerves. So we're gonna add the tibialis anterior muscle, which means that the muscle that goes in the front of the tibia. So I've got this, let me bring this out more, the structure of the tibia. See, this projects out. The tibia has, if you cut it and look at it from the bird's eye view, the tibia has kind of like this structure, the triangle. And this resonates all the way to the surface muscles, like we're gonna put some muscles here. This is the tibialis anterior. And it occupies this space here. And see here, we've got the contour. It almost follows the contour of the fibula. And then this goes all the way down here to the front of the foot here. And I'm gonna make this a bright yellow here. So this is tibialis anterior. And then, of course, it ends up in a tendon. So outline that tendon there. Very thin muscle. Now this part, remember this part here of the tibia, the inside of the tibia, you can feel that with your with your hand, and you'll notice that it's just like skin right on top of bone. On the inside, on this part, there's no muscles. Behind it, back here, there will be the soleus and the gastrocnemius, but this area remains flat. Over here you can have the fibula. That is the gastrocnemius, and then on top of that you have, this is the soleus, and on top of that you have the gastrocnemius. This is like a bird's eye view. Let me show you some other notes that I have here. So the next muscle, I showed you this when we're doing the side view. Camera focus there. So we did the Tibialis Anterior. We're going to do this one in here, right next to it. And that's the Extensor Digitorum Longus. So we've got here the fibula. So it's gonna cut into that. From this view, it'll get very thin. And it drops lower. So this is the Extensor Digitorum Longus. So I'm going to put in a little bit of blue. Make it a darker green. Some of the same green that I put before. It makes a nice iridium looking. The yellow for the tensor. So build up the form of the anterior, the tibialis anterior. This one is very thin, even on the side view, we see very little of it. We see more of it down here. Extensor Digitorum Longus. Goes into all the toes, breaks up into tendons. I'm not going to do that because it gets kind of complicated. And from in between these, we have a muscle that moves the toe, the big toe. To these two. So I'm going to make that blue. Just a little closer there, so you guys can see it better. And the next one, the next two are muscles that are associated with the fibula. Remember, in Spanish, this is called Peroneus. And that's going to help you memorize these names. This is the Peroneus Longus, or the long muscle that is in front of the fibula. You've got the contour, a little bit of that contour. And it's going to come out here. And it goes behind the ankle. So this is Peroneus Longus. Peroneus brevis is going to be down here. Let me just so this is the tendon portion. And I'm gonna make this is gonna be all, I'm gonna make it all white, and then I'll put some red, make it pink. You always want to leave a little bit here of the, you can feel that it's the on the side of your lower leg. You can feel the head of the fibula. And then I'm gonna put some red over it, make it pink. And so they also contrast nicely with that green there. So that is Peroneus Longus. Maybe more red so you can see it better. I'll use my Conte and my red chalk here. And so this little gap here, that is where you have the Peroneus brevis. So I'm gonna put a little more of this red and make this darker. A little bit of the white. A little bit of highlight. It's Peroneus brevis. And then attaching to the back of this is the fibula here. Attaching to the back of it, we have the soleus. That creates this contour here. I'm just gonna use my red chalk for this. Let me see what I use for the back view. I used violet, so I'm gonna use violet here. Some of this violet down, fill it in. Put some white so that it comes up better. So this is the soleus. Behind all these muscles here. We use black to overlap it, overlap the Peroneus Longus. To indicate that all this and the tendon of the Bicep Femoris are overlapping the soleus. And then we see the soleus, of course, attaches from the Achilles heel to the top of to the head of the fibula, but it comes out here. We see a portion of it here. Again, be sure not to cover the bone of the tibia. So something white, so that it's coherent in color, violet. Right content. And then up here, this is going to be the soleus, which is on top. This is a gastrocnemius, or gastrocnemius over the soleus. I made that one blue. Look, blue. I made this blue on the back view. I'm going to lose here the tibia. Soleus. It was make almost one muscle, the soleus and the gastrocnemius. I get confused. And I gotta keep in mind there's no muscles here on the tibia. On this, see this here, this is this portion. This one is this portion. But in here, there's nothing other than very thin tendon-like structure and skin. And then over here you've got the Tibialis Anterior, Extensor Digitorum, Peroneus Longus, and then behind this is the soleus wrapped around. So this is the head of the fibula. This is the tibia. A cross section, like if you were to cut this and then see this from the bird's eye view. And we have one more. Down here. Which also move. It's related to this blue one here. They're both attached to the big toe, but this one from behind the ankle here. I'm also going to do this blue. but it stays behind here. So there you have it. That's the last of the muscles of the muscles of the leg, the front view. So I have a little bit of time. I'm recording this for you guys, but I don't know, there's a lot of information here. I want to show you on this space that I have here. Let me push this back. This thing almost fell on. So we have pull my camera back so I get more of a view here. Further, I want to draw a little bit of the inside of the leg. They also give me enough space. Let's see if the camera can get secure. That should give you some good amount of space in there. So let's see over here. So let's say this. I have to check my drawing on the screen, see how this is gonna fit. So this part here, it is what made up the I'm just gonna use probably just white and black here. This is the Rectus Femoris. And this here is the Vastus Medialis. All right, and then this is the kneecap. This will be kind of angular. And see, this is the Sartorius here. And then this is the inside of the leg here. This is the gracilis, this yellow portion. So I'm going to try and match the colors here a little bit. I kind of see if I can describe this with in regards to planes. That is the plane created by this, the gracilis. That keeps in the adductors here. I'm going to do these lines to show that the orientation of this plane. And then the gracilis, that's the gracilis, that's a Sartorius. A little bit of white here to make it stand out. This is, like I said, it's like a belt. And its orientation in regards to the plane, again, these lines to indicate the plane that it needs. You can see that better. And then I'm going to put like the highlight here to indicate the thickness of this muscle. And another line here to indicate its thickness. And see then this portion, the adductor longus, the pectaneus, and the iliopsoas here. This plane is, this is a very geometrized or geometric version of the leg. It does this. So let's say this is more frontal facing, so I'm going to put white here. And then here you've got a little bit of a tensor. And these muscles to show kind of cross contour of the rectus femoris. Just to show you what's going on up here. And maybe a little bit of a highlight. Same thing with this one. Goes there. And then down here, this This is the plane of the inside of the tibia that has nothing on it. And down here, the gracilis kind of becomes one with the, and they blend. Also, from behind the semitendinosus, semimembranosus, they make a common tendon as well. And so this continues this flat plane. This is the tibia. And then here you got the gastrocnemius and the soleus. Gastrocnemius and then the soleus. And then this is the Tibialis Anterior. So this is a three-quarter view of the inside of the leg. This is the Tibialis Anterior, this green one here. Maybe exaggerate. Maybe there's a little bit of the Extensor Digitorum Longus as well. But this is, more round. This one. And so there you have it. Kind of like maybe too much information about the anatomy. But see, this should help with understanding another view of the leg that we didn't get to draw. See, that is this here. Sartorius, gracilis, and then this should be another little portion of the semitendinosus from behind the leg. So it does this, and then goes in, up, and then around. And you can, you can feel those parts on your leg. You can see that this is the shape. This is very simplified and very geometric, but these are based on our actual anatomy. And then just to bring out here the kneecap. I think that's it. I will post the video, make it available to you guys. And I'll see you in class. So that is the end of the very in-depth artistic anatomy of the human figure.